Have you ever noticed that when you ask someone for a favor, your voice suddenly changes and it jumps to an octave? You get like all high pitched, melodic, and you become a little bit small. Or maybe you've got yourself apologizing for simply existing in a room. Does that happen to you? When you are asking someone for a favor and your voice turn either an octave high or low, you can sense that in your voice you're pleasing, or maybe you don't sense it, but lately I have been doing that. And I also see other people who are people pleaser and don't recognize themselves. I have seen their voice go up and down a lot. The customer service voice, that is not just you being nice, it's actually a psychological survival tactic. And today we are peeling back to the curtain on politeness theory and why your brain is so much hardwired to shush your own needs in order to keep the peace. If you have felt like you're losing yourself in the act of being likable, this is the masterclass for you, and that you have been waiting for. We are going to turn that submissive tone into your authentic charisma. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where we talk about things that you guys have been shushing away. And today we will talk about the secret language of tone. Why we change who we are to get what we need. And let's dive in. It's gonna get a little bit informative, but for most of you, if you're like me, it is very important to get to the root cause of the problem in order to understand it and the science of it in detail to understand myself. So we are gonna get to the 5 points of this from point 1 of the science of the face to the charismatic one. And we are going to get not too much detail but a little bit overview means of what it means and why it happens. Okay, so the point number 1, which is the science of the face. In psychology, the psychologists talk about something called having a face, and it's not the one that you put your makeup on. It is basically your social face. You have to think about it like a mirror effect. And for the mirror effect, for those who have not watched the video, I have talked about this in my early video, and I will add the link to that video in the description box. When we interact with someone, we are constantly trying to hold up a mirror to their ego. So there are basically 2 types of faces. One is positive face and one is negative face. So the positive face is the part of us that wants to be liked, to be included, right? We all have that phase that where we want to go to people's house and we want to be included in their party. Even if we don't know them, we want to be included. That's the positive phase. The negative phase is the part of us that don't want to be left alone and it want to stay in control. So when you ask for something from people, you are basically threatening their mirror. Okay, you're asking for their time or energy. To fix the threat, you kind of change your tone to sound softer. You are basically saying, hey, I'm not a boss, I'm a friend. But for people like me, for people pleasers, we often overcorrect and we end up sounding like we're begging for permission. Like we are asking them that please let us breathe. So coming to point 2, which is the 5 strategies of being polite. And trust me, you need to know this and you have to let me know where you stand on this. So the psychologists, they have found 5 ways we do this. Okay, let's see which one you use the most. Okay, the number 1 is bald on record. Okay, so that means you are not saying, you're not asking, you're being demanding, you're saying do this. And that's very rare for people pleasers. That's very rare for me. Okay, so there is another called positive politeness. Positive politeness is when you ask someone, you're so good at this, could you help me? So this is a buddy move. You will do this with someone who is your friend. You will tell them that you're good at this, can you help me? So this is a very buddy move. We sometimes do this, but not all the time, because people pleasing is a disease and it stops us from living our life. So the third one is negative politeness. We do this as well. People pleaser, I do this as well. So I am so sorry, but could you maybe help me with this? This is the very typical people pleaser move. I am sorry, but could you do this for me, with a tone higher or lower based on how you normally talk. You can feel this in your next chat. If you're asking for a favor, how do you act in that? How does your voice go up and down? You have to notice. Now that is the third move. I'm going to get to the off record one. So how does off record work? It means like hinting someone. Okay, so like your roommate asks you, wow, the trash is really full, huh? They're basically hinting you to take out the trash. And you as a people pleaser, you do that. That hinting thing, that's a very manipulative thing for me, but at the same time, it is one of the way to become a charismatic people as well. So we can use this in a positive light as well. The number 5, okay? And again, this is very typical of people pleaser to do this. Like, just do it yourself and feel resentful. This is the very common one in people pleasers. We try to do things all by ourselves in order to not bother the next person, or in order to not make them mad at us. So you have to comment below, which number are you? Okay, this is the core of this whole video. Why does it feel so personal for us? Why does it feel so personal when we even become nice to someone? We ask them for a favor in a pleasing voice, in a high voice that is not even us, and the person says no. Why does it feel so personal? This is what psychologists call as the smoke alarm. Most people, a no is just a no. Okay, for normal people, for people who don't like to please other people, people who are direct, people who respect themselves enough, yes, I'm going to go there. People who respect themselves enough to take a no as a no. But for people pleasers, for me, it used to be for me, and even on the very bad days, still now, the brain, it has a kind of a hypersensitivity. It is very sensitive. Now I'm going to say it's very sensitive to smoke alarm, because even a tiny bit of friction, that is very less even to cause a spark. It feels like it is not even causing a spark. It feels like the house is already on fire. And there is a scientific term for it, and it's called rejection sensitivity. So in order to become more adaptive, we change our tone, because what we are trying to do is basically prevent the smoke even before it starts. And you are basically managing their emotions, okay? So you don't have to feel anything. And this is getting really interesting if you are into all these things and you're actually trying to heal yourself. So there's a fancy word for what we do. It is called sociotropy. So sociotropy is actually a need to put relationships above everything else. And by anything, I mean including your own mental health. When you use that high-pitched favor voice, okay, when you use that, you are practicing sociotropy. You're saying the harmony that we have together is more important than honesty. So the harmony here is the exchange of your respect and turning your voice high or low, whichever suits you, for their approval, for their yes. So this is the harmony you are trading, and you're considering that harmony because they are not saying no and in the end not getting mad at you in your head. So I'm going to tell you the joke here. True harmony cannot exist without honesty. So you have to be honest first to yourself, and then you owe it to them as well. If you don't like them and you're still trying to please them, that's on you. You have to be honest with yourself that I don't like the guy. Why should I even bother to decrease my own value in front of them by doing this, by being the pleaser? We are getting into something else. This is called the charisma switch. Okay? Now, you might think that charismatic people are the one who can adapt anything, which is true. Charismatic people can adapt, but they are not nice all the time. They are not. Okay? What they do is they are adaptive. They're like chameleons. They know when to be the captain, when to be direct, when to be friend, which is the buddy we talked about, and when to be the guest, which is being respectful of the other person. This is what they do. They adapt themselves according to the needs of the situation and according to the people in front of them. The difference is that they choose to do this. But a person like me, a person like you, basically a people pleaser, we are stuck on a guest setting. We have to ask them, can you do this for me? In a very different voice that may not recognize us. A charismatic person, they choose the setting that fits the room. So, now you don't need a personality. You need to unlock the buttons on your control panel. We're going to get to the mindset shift and the action steps. The politeness is a tool. It is not a cage. So, I'm going to tell you the truth that you guys have been shushing because I have to, otherwise you won't realize being direct is actually a form of respect. There, I said it. Being direct is a form of respect. When you use when you use a steady tone, which is a captain voice, you are not being mean. You are being clear. Okay, when you tell someone that you don't want to do this, you are not being mean. You don't have to make it inward because, well, we do this. And I know it's not easy. We think we batter ourselves on the fact that we said no, now they're going to think we are rude. We are not being rude. We are being clear. And that clarity is kindness to yourself and to the other person. Confusion, when you don't do this, this is where confusion starts. And with confusion come resentment. People know when resentment grows, but we don't acknowledge that. Stop trying to protect everyone from the threat of your own needs. You don't need to protect everyone. You can be your own person. You can start to say no and start to respect yourself, as this transaction will be very helpful for you. So, okay, here is the homework for this week for you. Okay, instead of asking for a yes with a shaky voice, ask for a no. Okay, I know it's confusing, but I'm gonna explain this further. Next time when you need something, ask, would it be a total disaster if we move this meeting? Or is it a ridiculous idea to ask for help with this? By giving them the safety to say no, you protect their autonomy. How? I know it feels confusing, it feels backward, right? Allow me to further explain. Usually, okay, we think that to get what we want, we need to say yes, right? Okay, we want something, we expect a yes, which is basic, right? We think like that. But pushing for a yes can actually feel like a trap. So here's a breakdown. No, protect them. So what is the yes trap? The invisible hand of this is when you ask a yes question, like, do you have a minute to talk? The other person, they immediately start looking for the catch. Like, what are you looking for out of this conversation? They also think, if I say yes, how long will it take? What am I committing to? Can I get out of this if I don't like it? This is what the other person is thinking. The psychology is called psychological reactance. When people feel like you're trying to steer them towards a specific answer, their brain hits the brake. Okay, it hits the brake, and in order to protect the freedom, they stop it. They can say no now. Think of it like with yourself. If someone asks you, do you have a minute do you not think it's going to take too much of my time in your own head, and then you direct your answer sometimes depending on the situation? So here comes the no safety net. So the steering wheel here, it is very beautiful steering wheel, and it will help you when you ask for a no oriented question like, is it a bad time to is now a bad time to talk? What are you gonna answer? No, right? You give them the steering wheel, like they are steering now. Now by letting them say no, it's not a bad time, they feel like they're the one who decided to talk to you. So this is called the illusion of control. People feel safe when they say no, because no is a shield for everyone. No is a shield. Once they feel they're protected by that shield, they naturally lower their guard, and then they become much more helpful than you even think of. Think of it like a door. Okay, a yes question is like you're trying to push your way into their house, so they do not want to open it. A no question is like standing on the porch and thinking, is it okay if I don't come in right now? Now they feel safe enough to open the door and say, come on in. Okay, so why this is a charisma switch? People pleaser, people like me, if I knew it before I would have used it, we are actually usually terrified of the word no. We think that no means a failure. But a charismatic person is not afraid of a no. By inviting the other person to say no, what you're signaling confidence. You're saying, I'm not begging for your help. I'm not begging for your help. I respect you. I am not trying to trick you into a yes trap, which actually makes them want to say yes, and you won't feel like you're begging. Okay, so we've covered a lot today, from the mirror effect to the charisma switch. Remember, your voice is a superpower, but only if you are the one flying the suit. So, thank you so much for watching, and would it be so bad to subscribe to my channel? If you're always changing your tone to make others comfortable, eventually you will forget what your real voice sounds like. So speak up today. The right people will love the sound of the real you. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.